What's up, everyone, and welcome to The Spot. This is the spot for all things empowerment through yoga, meditation, and psychoeducation. My name is Dalia, and I am your mental health coach. I recently did a poll asking you what aspect of emotional regulation or emotional intelligence do you struggle with the most? And one of the most recurring answer I got was keeping our emotions repressed. How do we process suppressed emotions? Why do we try to keep our emotions under the lid? So today's episode in the emotional intelligence series is emotional repression. So what is emotional repression? Simply put, it's a coping mechanism that we employ to avoid feeling bad. Imagine these marbles represent emotions, right? You have joy, you have sadness, you have anger, you got fear, and so on and so forth. When we repress our emotions, we simply push those emotions down as opposed to dealing with them. For instance, you might avoid thinking about a stressful situation at work, or maybe you try to bottle up your feelings after an argument with a loved one. Now, each time you do this, you're adding more marbles into the bowl. And at first, this might seem like an effective strategy because you are avoiding feeling bad. But does it work in the long run? No. Eventually, the jar will start overflowing with emotions. So, just like this little bowl, our emotional capacity is limited. And eventually, when it gets full, it's going to overflow. And all those repressed emotions are going to come out one way or another, and oftentimes not the way that we intended. Oftentimes, it will come out as a big emotional outburst or a sudden anger reaction or anxiety attacks, panic attacks, or even physiological symptoms like headaches or fatigue. So emotional repression doesn't actually make our feelings go away. It just delays the inevitable overflow. So why do we repress our emotions? There are some common fears around feeling our emotions, including that emotions are scary and that if we allow ourselves to feel them, we will get overwhelmed and not know what to do with them. Another is we have the fear of being judged for our emotions. How many of us can recall being emotionally voided when we were kids? Like, why are you crying? No, don't cry. Why are you being so emotional? A lot of the messages we receive growing up about being with our emotions are unfortunately not so healthy. There's even the fear of facing the pain associated with our emotions. At the end of the day, we are wired to avoid pain and seek pleasure. That is just how our brains are wired. But you just got to remember it is okay to feel. And it's only by acknowledging and being with our emotions do we actually transform them and catalyze them into something productive. Pushing our emotions down does not work. Now, I want to make an important distinction here between emotional repression and emotional control. When we talk about emotional control, it's a way of recognizing our emotions and managing our emotions in a healthy, productive way. So it's about feeling our emotions without letting our emotions dictate our behavior. Emotional repression, on the other hand, is about pushing away those emotions and pretending that those emotions do not exist. Now, when it comes to emotional intelligence, we actually want to focus more on the emotional control side of things, of befriending our emotions, as opposed to the emotional repression side of things, where we just push them away until they start to overflow. So let's talk a little bit about emotional regulation. How can we manage our emotions in a healthy way? I'm going to give you 4 tips that are going to help you on your emotional regulation journey. The first tip is so easy and very obvious. Acknowledge your emotions. The first step is to recognize how you are feeling. And that means broadening your emotional vocabulary. Emotions are very nuanced. It's not always accurate to say, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm afraid, I'm happy. Are you angry, or are you frustrated, or are you irritated, or are you full of rage? What is it? So, learning how to broaden our emotional vocabulary, how to describe and identify our emotions is a very important first step. And when we can do that, then we can learn how to sit with our emotions without judgment. So we can say, oh, hello, this is frustration. Hello, frustration. Notice how it's not I am frustrated, creating a little space. This is frustration. The second tip is to find a healthy way to express those feelings. Find a safe way to process, to express your emotions. My favorite thing to do is journaling. I cannot tell you how helpful it is when I'm writing down my emotions and writing down my thoughts, just getting it out of me. Journaling is a wonderful way. Talking to a confidant, a trusted friend, a family member, a therapist. Also, engaging in creative activities, painting, singing, dancing. All of those are great ways to express yourself emotionally because sometimes words don't just cut it. Sometimes humming it or moving it is a better way. Which brings me to my third point, which is somatic practice. Incorporating body work is really important because if you remember from our first video, where do our emotions live? In our bodies. So incorporating healing through movement is great. Things like yoga, dance again, or even simple stretches can help you process and move some of that stuck stagnant energy or emotion that's in your body. And I'm going to throw on a helpful tip here because I see a lot of times when people are feeling anxious or a lot of anxiety, a common tip people get is to just, pause and start breathing. But actually, that's not a good tip because when you're feeling anxious, there's a lot of fear emotion, a lot of adrenaline rushing through your body. And the best thing to do in that moment is actually to move around. Jumping jacks, burpees, shaking, dancing. Those are all great ways to process an emotion or feelings like anxiety. That was just a little freebie tip. And the fourth tip I have for you is to engage in self-soothing activities. Stimulate your senses, right? So a weighted blanket, drinking warm tea or hot chocolate, listening to calming music, taking a bubble bath. These are great ways, these are great sensory ways to help you ground yourself and provides you with comfort. Another pro tip is a great nervous system regulation, something I do with my clients all the time, especially online clients when they're getting emotionally worked up. Just rub up and down the arms. This is called havening, and it's a great way to regulate your nervous system because when we're getting emotionally worked up, our nervous system is in fight or flight and we're frazzled. So just rubbing up and down the arms is a wonderful self-soothing skill. So those are my tips on emotional regulation. Just remember that emotional regulation, like all things, is a skill that takes time and it takes practice. So be patient and compassionate with yourself. And remember, always, always, compassion is the foundation of everything. How would you treat a friend who's going through something like that? And let me know what other aspects of emotional intelligence you want to learn about. I am doing these videos for you and I want to make sure that you benefit from them. So let me know, drop me a comment. And if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like it, share it, hit the subscribe button. I am releasing videos twice a week. We have Mental Health Monday where we dive into a mental health topic, and we have Friday Flows where we flow with yoga and somatic movements. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. Don't forget to share your thoughts and questions and comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you. Take care. Until next time.